Now it's time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, DARRYL F. Woo!
Hi, my name's DARRYL. I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for asking. I really liked what Brian had to say when he took his cake, that, AA is where he learned how to live, and that was the last place I'd expect that's what I learned, but I did. I got sober April 1st, 1986, and not only did I not think I was an alcoholic growing up, but I definitely was never going to be an alcoholic. I was never going to end up like my mother, because my mother drank. I grew up in New Jersey, and there you go. I grew up in New Jersey. My mother drank, and she was really humiliating when she got drunk, and I swear to God, I was never going to be like her. I mean, all the typical stuff drunken moms do. I mean, I'd come home from school, from elementary school, and the music be playing. She'd have Brazil 66 on, and she'd be like, "Come on, dance with mommy." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, what would happen was, between then and 5 o'clock when my dad showed up, and he was no treat either. I mean, he'd show up. And now it's the typical stuff these alcoholic moms do. She'd go for the cutlery, and now she's chasing my dad around the house with the knife. Not really to really hurt him, but just to kind of scare him a little. And then frustrated because she really didn't want to get in that much trouble of actually stabbing him, she'd throw the knife down. Then she'd take off her dress and run through the neighborhood. And my dad would be screaming at us, "You little bastards, get her, she's getting away." And I'm just thinking, oh man, my friends from school, and the lights would go on, the other people's houses, and I had this crush on this girl, Rhonda Mangles, like 3 doors, and her lights came on, I'm like, oh, I'm finished, And I swore to God I was never gonna end up like her. But don't feel sorry for me, because I was a cunning, manipulative little kid. Because shortly after that, my mom, look, another angel got its wings. Shortly after that, my mom took off, and it was just me, my dad, and my little brother. But before that, the really humiliating thing was we would have school plays in an auditorium like this, and I'll never forget it. I was going to School 9 in Clifton, New Jersey, and we'd have our school plays, and all the kids the day before are like, "Are your parents coming? Are your parents coming? DARRYL, are your parents coming?" I'm going, "Oh, sweet Jesus, please don't let my parents come to the show." And sure enough, we'd be on stage, it'd be well into the show, and I'm like looking around, scanning the audience. I mean, I was always on edge, worried about when they were going to show up and something would just explode, and okay, they're not here, I'm home free. And all of a sudden, they had those big fire doors at the back of the auditorium with that big kachunka bar, and it would just go chakunk. And I was like, whoa. And I'd see her hair was frosted and out to here, and she had a tight little sweater on, her purse, her pedal pushers, and she'd go, "My baby!" And everyone would just go, woof. And for like a split second, I'd be thinking, okay, there's 5 of us up here. They may not know it's me. And then she'd go, "DARRYL!" And where I grew up at the time, Clifton, New Jersey, was pretty much an ethnic island. I mean, it wasn't white or black. It was pretty much everyone was Italian. And believe me, I was the only kid named DARRYL in that whole school. So there was no mistake, and it was me. And she ended up splitting, and like I said, don't feel sorry for me, because my dad would have these card games. I was pretty much raised by my dad and his buddies, and they would have these card games at our house. And my dad was pretty rough. I mean, he was like, he became like a New Jersey New Ager. So he was always saying things like, "Think positive, you miserable fuck." I was like, what? Or he'd go, Jesus Christ. He's like, He'd be like, Jesus Christ, Darryl, you're smarter than that, you fucking idiot. So he'd have these card games with all his buddies over, and he'd work during the day. So it was just me and my little brother, and we'd walk to school, come home, and at lunchtime he was nowhere, he wasn't home, so I knew where he hid his card playing money. And I would steal rolls of quarters and dollars, and I would go to the store to win friendship, you know, because I really didn't feel good enough. I'd buy big giant bags of Starburst fruit chews, take them to the school 9 playground, and I was like, I mean, I was it. I had the big bag of fruit chews, and I'd whip them, foof, and all the kids would go running and smash into each other to get a fruit chew, and I was like, Jesus, you know, I'm throwing these fruit chews, and you know, but after a couple of weeks of, I was stealing loot, and my dad said, hey, Darryl, you seen your mother around here lately? Because I'm missing some money from the card playing money. Yeah, I think she was here, Dad. So, I mean, that's the kind of kid I was. And I swear to God I was never going to be an alcoholic until the day I took my first drink. And I really identify when they talk about that drink you had where it just clicks. It was at one of these card games, and I really wanted to be accepted and loved by my dad and his friends because they were all we had. And I mean, these guys were men to me, and I would have given anything to be like them. And on one of these card games, one of the guys, I was probably about 15 years old, and he says, hey, little Fuzz. They called us Fuzz because of Fazaro. Hey, little Fuzz, you want a drink? And I was like, yeah. And I'll never forget it. It was a screwdriver, and the Tropicana orange juice came in a half-gallon glass jug with the indentation for your hand and the orange peel type texture in the glass and the Smirnoff, and he poured me the drink, and I took that drink, and like my shoulders relaxed, and this was the best part. My dad was busting my balls, but I was laughing right along with him. I loved it. Finally, you know, I felt so good. I felt like I was finally a man. I felt loved and accepted by my father. I felt I could do anything. And, you know, the thing I keyed in when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous that really helped me identify as an alcoholic, I was 23 years old, and I was only coming here to get the heat off. I mean, I did, like in the first step, and, you know, powerless over alcohol and all that, and, you know, you got to find a higher power, and I had a shitload of higher powers, you know. My whole life, there's an example. These books are great books. If you don't own the big book, you got to get it. And if you don't know where to start, like I didn't know where to start, because it's a big book, and I thought it was the law. You had to start from the beginning to the end. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is you get it and you start reading it. And you don't have to read it all at once. I mean, 2 pages a night is enough. And believe me, it'll knock you out. 2 pages will knock you out. But at least it puts you to bed with some positive shit in your head. So when you wake up the next morning, you're not just thinking about all the other horse crap and worry and fear and how am I going to make this happen and how am I going to fix that? But my sponsor suggested starting with chapter 3, more about alcoholism. And I heard in meetings the phenomenon of craving. And you know, I could sit at meetings and I could judge any speaker like the best of them. But there's one thing I can't argue about being an alcoholic, and that's the phenomenon of craving. I mean, when I took drinks, I remember when I remember hearing that and I go, that's alcoholism? Because I remember like 16, 17 when I was having a good time, you know, with my friends bragging, you know, once I have one, I got to have more. I didn't know that was a symptom of alcoholism, you know? And another thing, you know, I swear I was never going to end up like my mother, but let me tell you, I was nothing like my mother because I felt great when I drank. I didn't feel like how she looked until later on. But by then, I was so far into it, I didn't believe I looked like that, you know, with the humiliation and the crap. But I didn't come to Alcoholics Anonymous for any other reason than to get the heat off. And I was talking about higher powers because There's a thing in the book, there's a new, well, it's not that new anymore, but in this new edition that's out now, and it's called Window of Opportunity. It's a story in the back. You know, like my sponsor said, read the chapter 3, chapter 5, and read a story in the back at night, you know. And a lot of those stories are real short, guys, so. Anyway, one of them is called Window of Opportunity, and in it, it hit me right between the eyes, the best definition of an alcoholic. And the guy writes, you know, if I finally dawned on me the difference between an alcoholic and a non-alcoholic. And he says, a non-alcoholic will change his lifestyle to meet his goals. An alcoholic will change his goals to meet his lifestyle. And that was me. I mean, it was like, I started off with a lot of promise. I got accepted to a school for art. And the big deal was they took the freshmen in, which, you know, an average non-alcoholic, full of ego and fear and all that other garbage we carry around with us, would walk in and look at what the seniors are doing and go, wow, one day I'm going to be able to do that. And I walked into that gallery, I'll never forget, I walked in and I go, what's the use? You know, and that's how it was my whole life. I'd get like the algebra book at the beginning of the school year. I must have been in 5th grade, and for some reason I couldn't resist. I looked to the last page, saw the huge problem, and went, forget it. I wanted everything instantly. If it wasn't going to come easy, and that's what happened, you know, getting these higher powers, I would think, you know, so I'm definitely not going to become an artist because this is just impossible. But the great thing about booze was it made me feel like I was sick. I didn't have to do any work. I have a couple drinks, and I feel like I'm a success. I felt so good. I felt so good sometimes I would just make shit up, you know, to really get you to like me. And this shit backfires all the time, you know, because, okay, let me see. I'm going to tell this girl who I really like some lies about me so she'll like me. Well, now I just ruined it. It's like that joke about the priest who never gave up a Sunday for 20 years. You know, he never took a day off. Finally, he decides, you know what, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm taking a day off. So he puts a sign up, priest, sick, sorry, you know, out sick. So he goes to the golf course. He's out on the golf course, gets up there, pop, hole in one. First time ever. Jesus is up in heaven and go, hey, Dad, isn't that one of our guys? He goes, yep. He goes, aren't you going to do something about it? He goes, I just did. He got his first hole in one and he can't tell anyone about it. And that was it. I would tell these bullshit stories thinking I was going to get these long-lasting, wonderful relationships, but how long could I keep this crap up? So I'd find some way to make the relationship fall apart or backfire so I could blame them, of course, and, you know, not have to deal with that. But this is it. Forget about that. I would just go down the list. My goals kept getting lower. You know, school just became a place to get drunk. And then, you know what? I went through them like this. Get to school, I'm going to do art, I'm going to get disciplined, I'll be doing my artwork, something I love. I won't be drinking as much, everything will be great, you know? You know, screw this. I'm never going to be an artist. Hell with this. You know what? I just need a girlfriend. That's a nice girl. Once I get her, everything's going to be all right. She's got great parents. Screw this broad, man. She's a pain in the ass. You know what? I just need a real job, you know? And my real jobs were just like, I mean, I did all the things in chapter 3 they talk about. I'd switch from, and when you're 19, 18, this is the sick part. I mean, I didn't think I was an alcoholic, but I'm changing brands of booze. I'm shopping at Bertelli's on like Bertelli's Liquor Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Broad Street Liquors Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, so I don't get discovered, so they don't think anything weird about me. I mean, I hate to tell you, but social drinkers don't have those problems. I mean, social drinkers, they could take it or leave it. I mean, I've seen it. My wife's a non-alcoholic, and it's not a big deal. And you know it's not a big deal for them, because in the end, I remember doing all the little tricks. Steve, we would go to New York City, so I go, Steve, we'd go to Danceteria. Here's my wallet. Just whatever you do, I'm just going to spend this $20. Don't give me the wallet. Okay, man. We get there within a half hour, 45 minutes max. Steve, come on. The wallet. Man, you said not to give you the wallet under no circumstances. I said I was only joking. So that. Also, there was also the old this one. No social drinker is going to say this as you're getting in your car to go out for dinner or whatever. You know, I'm not drinking tonight. I would say that to people. I go, I'm not drinking tonight. My friends would go, all right. But to me, it was a big deal, you know? Stuff was falling apart all over the place, and eventually, you know, I ended up pumping gas. I mean, I actually ended up doing I thought once I'm going to go work for Jack LaLanne Health Spa in Livingston, New Jersey. It's like the Beverly Hills of New Jersey. Woo, you know, that'll fix me. So I get down there, I'm working down there, and you know what? I didn't even drink wine. My life, I thought, I just need physical fitness. I'm 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm working at Jack LaLanne Health Club, and we had to do teach calisthenics then. They really didn't let the guys teach aerobics or anything. They just had these basic calisthenics like stomach. So I would show up hungover, and I couldn't even do the exercise. I mean, I literally could not do them. I mean, even if I wasn't drinking, I couldn't do them. It was just I couldn't do them. I was that out of shape. And I'm making like senior citizens, like, oh, crunch, come on. And I would just get up and check to play it off like I'm fit and I really don't have to do them. But I'm really being a nice guy by walking around them going, that's good, that's great job. But for some strange reason, and then I'd leave this job, and on the way home, and this is a 21-year-old, 22-year-old guy who doesn't think he's an alcoholic. Drive home, get to Livingston Circle. There was a bar where I could get packaged goods. I'd buy 2 6-packs every night I left there. Got home, sat in front of the TV, and watched like whatever was on. I don't know, I think it was Mr. Ed. Whatever, it didn't matter. And I just drink. And that was my life. You know, and one day I ended up with a gallon of wine in my locker at Jack LaLanne's. It ended up at my house somehow or where I was staying after a party. I brought it there, don't ask me why. And what happens to me when I drink, this was before I'm thinking it's that big of a problem. And I would do my job, and the manager would ask me to do things that weren't out of the ordinary, and I'd do them. But on this particular day, I'm drinking my gallon of wine out of the locker, and you know how you feel. Works great when you're drinking your gallon of wine. I mean, everything's cool. I'm doing my job. I'm doing weights. I'm like, you're great. I'm happy. But you drink a little too much. The phenomenon of craving kicks in. And then by the end of the day, he just innocently asked me what he asked me at every end of the day. He just said, okay, Darryl, now don't forget to wipe down the equipment. And for some reason, I just went, you wipe it down, pal. And he goes, are you kidding me? I said, do I look like I'm kidding you? I'm not doing it. And then I started going into this thing. You're always telling me what to do. I mean, he's the manager. I'm like, you're always telling me what to do. You don't think And I'm like, so he goes running upstairs, and now I'm getting sicker, that obsession to prove I'm right, and the booze is kicking in. You know, so now I think I'm a real man. So I go running after him. I go, come on, you little girl. I get up to the top, and there's all these like people playing racquetball. It's all these glass racquetball clubs, and the desk is up here. And he's telling the manager, he goes, you know what, you got to get rid of this guy. I'm not working with this guy ever again if this guy continues to work here. And I go, really? And I guess from watching all those late night shows, like F Troop or something, I go, oh yeah? And I took his name tag, tore it off, and went, boom. I go, that's it. You don't have to worry. Because you know what? He doesn't have to quit. I quit. And I marched out of there, and then I was just like, the next day, like, ugh. Once again, you showed them, Darryl. You know, and I'd be thinking, but I would be I'd have to, like, friends would say, hey, what happened at Jack LaLanne's? Oh, fuck that place. They're all a bunch of assholes. But the truth was, I didn't even go back for my last paycheck. That's how that's how brave I was. Because I was that humiliated to face these people. That's the truth of it. And, you know, the phenomenon of craving and all this insanity, I mean, these tools, I mean, I go to a lot of meetings. I was at a meeting this morning. I still go to a lot of meetings, primarily because it ends up to be a conspiracy to keep you sober. I mean, once you start calling people and, then they're calling you. Then a guy with less time says, hey, meet me at the meeting. You're like, oh, shit, all right. And even though, and it's just, I used to hear all this stuff all the time as a new guy, even from this guy, Joe Landry. I must have had about 60 days, and he was up at the podium, and I never really liked the guy, but these people end up saving your life by the little things they into your head. And he's up there, and he's like, it was a men's meeting in Hawaii. He goes, guys, I just want to tell you, there's only 2 times you have to go to a meeting. So, of course, I perked up. I was like, all right, cool. When you want to and when you don't. It's like, ugh. But it's funny because now that little slogan has got me to more meetings because I'll be going, I don't need a meeting. I got over 19 years. I'm doing great. I got a little wifey at home. What's the big deal? When you want to and when you don't. Ugh. And I end up going, and the meetings I'm most reluctant to go to turn out to be the best meetings. It always works out that way. The ones I least want to go to, all right, I'll go. I'm like, wow, that was a great meeting. So, oh, God, now I lost my train of thought. But anyway, another thing that happened as my drinking progressed, I ended up working at a gas station. This is right after I ended up having to leave Jack Lane because of that incident. I mean, I didn't leave. That's exactly how I ended up leaving. And I'm working at a gas station, pumping gas for minimum wage in Fairfield, New Jersey, which is only about a mile from the school I was going to. And now I'm having to hide in the bathroom a lot because a lot of the times the kids from school who knew me would pull in and I didn't want them to see me pumping gas. But I was, I left the college because I was failing and I just kind of walked away from it, And one of these days, I'll never forget it, a guy pulls up and he's like, hey, Darryl. And I was like, shit. So he goes, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you up at school all year. What's the story? And I said, let me tell you something. I make more money managing this fucking gas station than you're ever going to make when you graduate from that preppy piece of shit school you're going to, let me tell you. And I was this is the truth. Now, the truth of the story was, here I am making minimum wage, and I'm stealing 20, 30, 50 bucks a day from the register, because this guy's only paying me minimum wage, and I got a couple of years of college under my belt. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the sick way I'm thinking. I'm drinking 151 rum because I want to get there fast. I want the rush. I want the high, and I'm thinking, shit, man, the power's off at my place. I'm getting and I'm just, you know what? I just need a little discipline. That's what I thought. And I went through the list, Marine Corps, no way, Army, too dusty. Navy, 6 months on a ship, I'll never survive. Air Force, and my younger brother now, because it was just the 2 of us by this time, I kind of encouraged him to join the Air Force, so I was so humiliated of the horrible big brother I had become, that was the truth, in my mind, that I go, I can't join the Air Force. United States Coast Guard, Jersey Shore, they got the great little speedboat down at Point Pleasant. I'll get the suntan, the racing stripe. This is going to be great. And so I signed up, and no one tells you. I mean, I had no idea, but in case no one does, there's 378-foot Coast Guard cutters in the Coast Guard that patrol the Bering Sea. So now I'm standing on the pointy end of one of those going, figures. Why does this shit keep happening to me? And that's where, when you do a 4th step, you really get to see how powerless you are over alcohol. I really got to see, it's just like, I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous, never to force things. And this morning's meeting, and this is what I was getting to, is it was a Grapevine meeting, and it was a great reading. The Grapevine is this AA magazine. It's like all AA stories. And this literature actually is great stuff. When I was newly sober, I was in the service, and I got in enough trouble, they put me into law enforcement, and then I ended up working at the Honolulu Police Department, and I would carry this literature because you could stick it in your pockets or whatever, and the Grapevine is great, and I still subscribe to the Grapevine, and you know, I always open up, there's this corny joke section, you know, and you sit on the pot and you read the jokes. The primary thing about it is, when I open up this literature, sometimes it's not even so much what I'm reading, but to have this stuff is really like practicing step 3, because step 3 is easy to start the practice of, and it says it in the 12 and 12. It says it's real easy to begin the practice of step 3. In moments of indecision or frustration, pause and say, and it says the Serenity Prayer. Well, these little books, instead of running in the bathroom to do a few lines or down some more 151, I was using these simple tools in the beginning. And I'd go in the bathroom in my uniform, pull out my Grapevine, start reading, which I still keep my Grapevine in my desk drawer at work every month. And sometimes it's, like I said, it's not really what I'm reading, but I'm already doing the first 3 steps, even subconsciously. Because it's like I'm powerless over, obviously. I'm not going to subscribe to something that looks like the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower, you know, and read it, you know, unless I'm powerless and I've got to do something. So I'm reading my AA literature. You know, I'm believing that this stuff is going to change me for the better. And I start to think about people and the meanings I know. It just, what it does is it stops that negative train of thinking. Like, I got to make this happen or I got to fix this. I can't force anything. You know, the longer I stay sober doing these steps, it's like I don't have the energy anymore. And believe me, anytime during my day I can get that, oh shit, I gotta take care of this now. And so I start, just back off. It'll work out. Check my AA barometer. Am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? If I'm hungry, eat. Angry, pray for whoever it is. Lonely, call someone. Tired, take a nap after work. It's legal, you know. Anyway, there's actually some good jokes. There's rarely a good joke, but there was actually a very good joke in the Grapevine that I got to tell you because it blew my mind, because usually it's pretty much tame stuff. But it said an AA meeting is like an orgy. You know, you always leave, afterwards you always leave feeling great, but you just don't know who to thank. So, I mean, it's worth subscribing to. But this morning's meeting was all about self-will. Out of lack of power is our dilemma, and always having to make things happen. My mind was consumed with, I got to make this happen, I got to fix this or I'm screwed. And people were always saying, hey, Darryl, take it easy. You know, slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady my ass. I'm a dead man if I don't pull it together. And then they'd go, great, we understand. And then I'd be like, screw you, you understand? I just need some relief. You know, and I'd grab temporary relief. Only at the time, most of the time, I thought drinking would be a permanent solution. The problem is you always come down and the problems are worse, because I usually acted out or did something more humiliating than the last time. And then even in the end, when I knew it was only temporary, I didn't care, because my mind was, I just need some relief. I just need some relief. Before joining the service and before I walked away from going to school, my dad got really sick, and he was the only one who raised us, me and my brother. And he got real sick with cancer, and I was, 18 years old, and it was just me, my younger brother, and him. And the day came, he was at the house, and I knew it was it. I knew this was it. Because I knew it was it because he never said he loved me. And this was the day when he said, hey, I just want to tell you, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I know. You know, that's the way dads do it. You know, they don't really tell you. But I knew what he meant. Yeah, I know, Dad. And the ambulance had to come and take him out. And the neighbors start asking questions. And I was so humiliated that my father was weak and dying. I got mad. I would tell him, yeah, he's fine. You know, and I knew I got to go see him in the hospital. And I really wanted to visit him in the hospital. Believe me. So, but you know, I just needed a drink to take the edge off, because that's what people do. You know, I mean, that's what I thought. John Wayne, all these guys, everything so I take a drink, and now the phenomenon of craving kicks in. So now I call Frankie Dragato and Jeff Angelo, and we're going out, and we're drinking, and back of my mind, see, that's what I mean. There's something sweet inside me that was always trying to remind me, Darryl, this isn't a good idea. And I'd be, shut up, we're having fun. Go, 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 go. You know? But it was always there. And I'll finish that story, but that's where the fourth step is important, because I could see ending up on that ship. Like, you don't think you're powerless over alcohol? I didn't either, because I thought, I decide when I take a drink. You know, I take drinks when I want to drink. I'm not powerless. How can you be powerless? But when you do the fourth step, I was powerless, because all those decisions I made were because of my alcoholism. I had to leave that school because I was humiliated. I never really participated. I started failing. So, you know, I'm going to join and work for Jack LaLanne. Screwed that up. I'm going to join this. I'm going to do this. And now I'm in the military. I'm on this ship. And I was starting to lead a life I was never meant to live. Even though I'm surviving, it was getting further and further away from who I really was. So now my drinking had to increase so I could just feel comfortable in my own skin, because I was somewhere I wasn't even supposed to be. So me and Frankie Dragato and Jeff Angelo are drinking. I'm having a good fun. Little boy, he'll be fine, he'll be fine, he'll be fine. And he died in the hospital all alone. And, you know, you wake up the next day and you try to talk shit with your buddies, but I felt horrible. And, you know, some people who don't understand alcoholism go, God, what a weak, what are you? You have no willpower, not even for your old man's death? You can't go visit him in the hospital? And I'm going, yeah. But I didn't know about this phenomenon of craving. I really wanted to be there. It's just like the guy who promises his wife, honey, I'm just going to stop for one drink and I'll be home. How? You have one drink, the phenomenon of craving kicks in. Now I'm self-centered, I'm feeling great. She'll be all right. And you know, it was all bullcrap. My dad and his friends had a reputation, and my grandfather was a union official, and I really wanted to be like these guys. And I would get into trouble and get out of trouble because of my dad and his buddies. And I thought, this is cool. You know, you hear people say, all that crap that I thought was cool and I thought was being a man was being a coward. Getting in those fights and the next day going, yeah, you really kicked his ass, well, you cold cooked him. My gut's going, ugh. But I'm going, yeah, you're right. I feel worse about these two fights that I actually won than I do about anything, because it was horrible. And when my dad was alive, and when my dad died, his buddies, I mean, I was getting into art because I was doing the freaking painting the specials on the mirrors at their strip clubs they had, and they were taking me to bars, and one night in particular that really stands out in my mind is I knew it was a scary situation was when I was doing about 95 miles an hour down this residential street in Passaic, drunk off my ass. Could have hurt anybody. I mean, at that time, I didn't really care what happened to me, but I would have been, I don't know what would have happened if something happened and I killed someone. I get pulled over by the police, and I'm so hammered I can't even stand up. You know, I forgot. Remember having to drive? I'm sure a lot of people remember who just got here, but remember I used to have to drive with one eye to keep the lines from going. I'm like, I'm fine. You know? And so this was one of those nights I was hammered. I'm doing 95 shoot because I got to get from one club to this other club because that's where this girl is. And the cops pull me over. I get out of the car and I start walking to the back of the car to meet the guy halfway. I don't know. Back then it was, I guess that's what you did. I don't know. So I'm walking back there. He says, let me see your license. I give him the license. He goes to walk away. He goes, you're Fuzzy's kid, aren't you? And I said, yeah. He said, look, just take it home, all right? And you know what a cocky jerk, I felt like. It was all bullcrap. All that is bullcrap. Do you know what's nice? You want to hear something that takes more balls? My wife getting up in the morning, coming up to give me a hug while I'm doing my morning routine to tell me she loves me, and I don't go, shh, honey, I'm doing my morning routine. No, and saying, oh, thanks. That's the stuff. That's the stuff I missed my whole life. And then I come here and I learn. I come here, I get so far off the beam, I'm in the military, I'm in trouble, I had this court-martial, I mean, it was a mess. And I'm thinking I'm going to jail to Leavenworth, and that's screwed up because you got to work there. I mean, this is the way my mind's thinking. So I thought if I go to AA, maybe they'll think I'm a good little 8-year-old and I'll get out of this crap. And I went to AA. I went to, AA. I went to my first meeting. I'll never forget. My first meeting, I actually went to talk to somebody in the military. They told me, if you talk to this guy, it's confidential. He was a master chief in the Coast Guard, and if you tell them you want help, they might, my little scheming buddies, if they tell them you want help, maybe you'll get out of trouble and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, all right, I'll go there. So I go in, I tell this guy a whole load of crap. I mean, who knows? Probably a bunch of stories to feel sorry for me. My mom's a drunk, this and that. My dad died, I don't know. The usual crap. And he's like listening, and he's reaching into his file, and I'm thinking, good, Triple Army Medical Center. I'll get a paintbrush, a canvas, my paper disposable slippers, and I'll get to do artwork all day. I won't have to go to jail. And he hands me a meeting schedule for Alcoholics Anonymous. I thought, ugh. Are you kidding me? I got problems, man. I didn't say that. I was like, ooh, yes, sir. And it took a week before I got to my first meeting, but I didn't drink for the whole week, and I called Alcoholics Anonymous because I lost the meeting schedule, and the guy told me a meeting I could walk to. I walk all the way to the meeting, I look in the back of the room, and I go, no way. Walk all the way home. So now I'm stuck home with nobody, I had no parents left, no grandparents. My younger brother, I was too ashamed. I didn't even know where he was stationed, all alone. Who am I going to call? And that reminds me, I used to get drunk. Shit, remember getting drunk? Talk about power. And calling like old girlfriends in New Jersey on Hawaii time. I love you. And it's like, they're like, Darryl, it's like 5 a.m. or whatever the hell it was. I'm like, oh. I mean, the man I ended up becoming was, believe me, it wasn't the macho guy. My last drink was like, we went out to drink. I was in trouble. I had the court-martial hangover head. I got to get off base with another guy who's a non-alcoholic, great guy. And we had 2 dates, my girlfriend at the time and her girlfriend. We went out. I'm not drinking tonight, Rick. Okay. We get to the first restaurant. It's a Mexican place in Waikiki, of all things. And who orders a pitcher of margaritas? I did. We start drinking the margaritas, and the girls start going, we're hungry, we're hungry. Well, now the phenomenon of cravings again, fuck hunger, woo, I was like, I didn't feel hungry, so I don't give a shit about anybody else. I go, let's go to the Shorebird. So we start walking to the next place. But my mind started playing tricks on me now. And I start thinking, this jerk. Not only did I fix him up with my girlfriend's girlfriend, he's making moves on my girlfriend too. Now, nothing's happening. This is all just in our heads, But I'm believing it. We get to the next thing, and I do what tough guys do. I order my bar ahead of that. I order my beer at the bar ahead of them. They come in. Darryl, what's the matter? Nothing. And I watch out. And now this is where it gets real heroic. I'm leading them through Waikiki back to where I was staying, to punish them, so I really don't get too far ahead because I kind of want them to stay so I could turn a corner and go, good, good, there they are. So they could see me, get all the way to my place, lock the doors, they come, good, they'll think I'm killing myself. They're banging on the doors, all of a sudden the security guard shows up, oh, Mr. Good Guy, gotta act all nice, so I don't get in any more trouble. Come on, and I did like what I heard my whole life when my mom would get hammered. "Oh, I must have had too much to drink and passed out, officer." "Okay, well, just keep it down." They get inside, and somebody makes the inner mistake of saying, "Darryl, what's the matter? Come on, man, we understand." "Screw you, you understand? Screw you. You had your parents, you went to school, blah, 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 blah," all that crap. You know, when that doesn't work, you wear them down with that. Then I go for the balcony. "That's it, I'm jumping." "No, don't jump, don't jump." Now, I really don't want to jump, but now I'm just like my mother with the knife. I want to teach him a lesson. You know? "No, don't jump, don't jump." And then finally at the end, "Nobody loves me." That was the end. There was nothing heroic about it. That's where I ended up, you know? So I ended up going to this first meeting, and I ended up calling that guy back, and he said, "You know, why didn't you stay at the meeting?" I said, "There was no seats." He said, "You get back to that meeting." So I walked all the way back to the meeting, and, you know, I got to tell you, it doesn't really matter. Well, I can definitely vouch. It doesn't really, if you want this thing, you will get it. Because my first meeting, I walked in after I went back, and I'll never forget it. It was this overly tan woman, you know, older lady, overly tan, and she's the speaker, and she goes, "You know what? I'm a recovering alcoholic woman with dignity, and if I want to get as brown as this mahogany table, well, God damn it, I'm gonna, because I'm sober." And I'm like, but you know what? That night, I was just like the Terminator. And I'm looking around the room. No match. Not like me. No. And all of a sudden, bing, and it was a guy I lent a quarter to in cell block. And I thought, you know, if this guy can be here, I can be here. And, you know, that guy, Rob Baker was his name. He drove me to meetings my first 90 days on his moped in Hawaii. And, you know, my mom, I'm in touch with, my wonderful mother, because I heard in a meeting, and, you know, it's not about me punishing anyone. Resentments are the #1 offender. And, you know, tell you the truth, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. She was the perfect mom for me, because I got here at 23 years old because I had her for a mom. You know, and I called her, and of course, besides all the other heavy-duty amends, a couple of years ago, that thing about stealing the quarters was bugging me. And that's one of those things, that's nothing. You were a kid, blow it off. She left, making all these excuses. But when these things bother you, and the longer you stay sober, the more clean I got to keep it. These little zits pop up, and I don't want to carry that crap around, you know? Because my life today is so free. I'm not hiding behind coat racks when I see people and go, "Shit, what they're doing here," you know. I'm not doing any of that crap. I'm not, you know, when I come home and the answering machine's blinking, I'm not like, "Oh, who could that be?" Oh, you know, that would bug me. Checking the mail was like, it was like going through, I was handling them like letter bombs, you know, like, you know, you know, and I told her, I said, "Ma," and she's still nuts. I mean, she's au revoir, and she talks French, and then she's the Queen of England, you know, but I love her. And I said, "Ma, I gotta tell you," I go, "Do you remember when Dad thought you stole those quarters?" She goes, "Yes." And I said, "Well, Ma, I took those quarters and blamed it on you." She goes, "Darryl, we do crazy things when we're kids." And I said, "Mom, I love you." And she says, "I love you too." And then she said, "You know, the hardest thing I ever did was leaving you boys. That was the hardest thing I ever did." And going to AA meetings, I found out, you know, my mom didn't want to be an alcoholic either. My mom took one drink and felt so comfortable in her skin. Do you really think she wanted to make my life miserable? No. You know how I know that? Because of the way I treated people. I really didn't want to do that either. And now I have the tools to learn how to live life, like Brian said, from all places, Alcoholics Anonymous, you know? Thank you.